What's going on, guys? It's Danny from Slow Restoration, and today we are working on a 6-liter, an LQ4. It's a solid platform, good running engine. Guy dropped it off. He wants it resealed. We are going to put a Texas Speed cam in it, do some other small upgrades while we're in there, but pretty much just take it apart. We're going to put new gaskets on everything, so it's getting new head gaskets, actually a whole nother new oil pan, so oil pan gasket, front cover, front seal, rear cover gasket, rear main seal, of course valve cover gaskets, valley cover gasket, and cam, springs, push rods, the whole works. So let's go ahead and get started here. We'll start ripping this thing down. First step is he already has it fairly clean. We will have to clean it up a little bit more. We're going to go ahead and pull valve covers off, pull the valve train apart. We'll get all that set aside. We'll take the crossover tube off, get the heads pulled off, get the front balancer pulled off, and that'll be a good start. And we'll catch back up to you. I might set up for a time lapse here. All right, guys, that will get us a really good start. Obviously, we got valve covers off, valve train off, front cover off, balancer off, oil pan off. We'll let that sit there and drip a little bit before we flip it upside down. Everything actually looks really good inside. I mean, obviously it has some miles on it, but it's nice and clean. Nothing looks out of the ordinary. We'll go ahead and line the timing marks up, just to line them up and confirm that. But we'll line them up, pop this gear off, get the chain out of the way, and we'll pull the heads. I did pull all the top head bolts out. We'll go ahead and break the rest of the bigger bolts loose. We'll get the impact or breaker bar on them, break all those loose, get the heads pulled off, then we can pull the lifters and trays, and then we'll tackle that cam. So let's keep right on going here. All right, I forgot to hit record there, but we did, we got all the head bolts out except for one on either side. And I'm gonna show you real quick of why I know this is an earlier or pre 2004 and back. So if we get our magnet and pull this back head bolt out, you can see the length of it. And if we grab one of our other bolts here, you can see there's two different length head bolts on the bigger size. Of course, you're always going to have different size between the short and the big bolts, but because it's got a long and a short on the bigger head bolts, that means it's a 2004, part way through 2004 and back. So this is going to be a Gen 3 engine. No big deal, but you do have to make sure you get the right head bolts to go back in the block. So with that being said, we're ready to go ahead and pull one of these heads off. They're fairly light, so we'll just go ahead and set this down. And we'll look in here. It does have, you always get some coolant and stuff running down the cylinders when you pull the cylinder head, but we lost GoPro battery again there. So anyway, we have both heads off. Cylinders look really good. I've never really seen one of these 6 liters, even with higher miles, that the cylinders are just trashed unless they were like really abused or blew up. But anyway, we did get both heads off. We did get the timing gear off. We got the cam retaining plate off. We have the cam out. We have the lifter trays out, and we have the lifters. There's the cam that came out of it. Everything looks as it should. There's the Texas Speed cam. Let's go ahead and get everything cleaned up, get that slid in. Got the Texas Speed cam going in. I always use the water pump bolts as a little bit of leverage to get that last little bit in there, and make sure you put some assembly lube on as it goes in the block. With the cam slid in there, it should spin over 360 degrees nice and smoothly, evenly. Shouldn't be any binding. We can go ahead and take our water pump bolts out now. We are done with them. And we'll get the front of the block cleaned up here and get our cam retaining plate ready to go back on. Cam retaining bolt or plate is on, bolts are on. I do use red Loctite on those and they get torqued to 18 foot-pounds. Cam sprocket's back on, and you just want to make sure your marks are lined up. You can see down there or not, but they are definitely lined up. Cam shaft sprocket bolts, 26 foot-pounds they get torqued to, again with red Loctite. With that in there and tied up, like I said, we are resealing this whole engine, so we're pulling the valley cover. To pull the valley cover, you do have to back out these knock sensors. There's one in the front, one in the back. A lot of times the back one will get kind of gagged up. You can see it's a little bit more corroded, so we'll put a new set in, but you have to pull these out to actually get this valley cover off. Got the 6 layer all cleaned up, and we did get it painted. Customer wanted this one black. That's fine. Don't worry about the covers or the heads. They're all coming right back off. These are old core stuff we had sitting around, so all that will be coming back off, and we'll clean his stuff up and put it back on. He does have a Holley Oil Pan and a bunch of other stuff to go on this thing, so it's looking good. Came out really nice. Let's get it pulled apart so we can put it together. We got it back inside here, flipped upside down. All the covers that we put on there to paint it off. Works out good because you don't really mask anything up because everything's covered up. We have our rear cover off. New gaskets going on, new rear main seal. And if you see right there, we also did a billet barbell while we were in there. And when you reinstall these rear covers on the LS, you do need an alignment tool, or you should. Here's one we have. It's got an O-ring inside there, fits over the crank snout, and then one on the outside that fits over onto the cover itself. So if we line that up, I'll show you in a second. With that tool inserted, it actually lines the cover up and centers that round part where the seal goes, the bore, with the crankshaft. As you can see here, there's quite a bit of movement even there. So the final step in aligning it is just making sure that's flush, not sticking above the oil pan rail on the block on either side, centering that up, and then you can go ahead and tighten the bolts up. They're 18 foot-pounds. We got our front cover all cleaned up here, new gasket on it, and our install tool. So all we have to do is line that up. The install tool kind of lines the cover up. It does have a little twist to it after, but it lines it up as far as the hole for the seal. We'll start these bolts and then just make sure it's twisted around right, level with the oil pan rails, and we'll go ahead and snug them up to 18 foot-pounds. It's looking really good. We're actually going to be moving on to installing this Holley Oil Pan next. It's the engine swap oil pan, and to do that you actually have to remove and modify, as you can see there, your windage tray. So we removed it, marked it out per the Holley instructions, notched a big chunk out. As you can see there, normally this would come all the way up front to here. You remove this section. The Holley pan isn't very deep in that section, and that's so they can get that engine to sit down nice and low in the chassis. They do give a new pickup tube also, but a little bit of work involved with doing this. Just take your time and mark it out and test fit it a couple times. First time I test fit it, it did not fit. That pan was still hitting, so we clearanced it a little bit more, and now it fits nicely. So let's go ahead and get this installed. We've been moving right along here. Got a lot of it assembled. Sorry, just trying to knock this one out and get it done. The guy does need this back, so we're trying to get it done for him. So it's coming along nicely here. As you can see, we did torque the heads down, new head gaskets, valley covers on, torque down, new seals. We got the knock sensors installed, the harness. If you guys, we did get our Texas Speed push rods slipped down in there. If you guys have never did the torque to yield head bolts. They are kind of a pain. You need an angle gauge or a torque wrench that reads angle. Well, we got quite a bit done now. Again, I just trying to get this thing done so we can get it back to the customer. We got the balancer put back on. We do still have to torque the balancer bolt. I have a new bolt to go in there, but it's a little hard on the engine stand. Yeah, valve covers are on. Intake's on. I forget where I stopped off before. We painted the crossover tube. It's looking really good. Everything's pretty much ready to go. It didn't come with coil packs. We are gonna try. I don't know if I'll be able to squeeze it in before I have to deliver this. I'm gonna try and fire this up on my run stand with the Holley Terminator X. So if you see a video come out with that, you know it was successful. If I run out of time, then I just won't be able to do this one. But I do plan on doing that and getting that run stand set up to run these LSs as we finish them, break them in, make sure everything's good, no leaks, no weird noises, and get them out to the customers or before we actually install them in the car. Either way. So this thing actually looks really good. Holley Pan, head's cleaned up. They pretty good. They have some standing on them. Same with the valve covers. He does plan on running the engine covers on here, so we didn't go crazy. We just made them look as good as we could. Block looks really good. We didn't put the dipstick tube in yet because you have to remove that to put your headers or exhaust manifolds, whatever you're going to run on. So instead of taking that in and out and having the chance of damaging it, we're just not going to install it right now. We do have oil in it. The Holley Pan still takes 6 quarts with the filter, so it's looking really good. Once we get it off the stand, we'll be able to install a flywheel, and then once we have the flywheel on, we can bolt it to the run stand and see if we have enough time to get that done. So hope you enjoyed this quick little refresh on a 6-liter. It's a nice stout 6-liter now. It's got a Texas speed cam in, all new gaskets, new rockers, or rocker trunnion upgrade. I forgot to even say that. We did do that. So we have the Texas speed rocker trunnion upgrade in there. New lifters, new lifter trays, got that cam in it, and all new gaskets, head gaskets, front seal, front gasket, rear gasket, rear main seal, valley cover gasket, seals, valve cover gaskets, even the intake gaskets are new. We do have this 102 throttle body that the customer bought. It does fit on here. It's kind of unnecessary to have a 102 because, as you can see, the opening inside is smaller, but it looks cool and it does fit without hitting. So there you go.